Okay, I'm going to show you how to do a knit stitch bind off, I guess you would call it, or casting off, on a round loom with doing a flat panel. I'm using a really small loom just so I could show this easier without taking an hour to do something. So I'm going to kind of bring this down here and I'm going to show you how to do this. So basically you want to skip your first stitch. This would be my first stitch. So I'm going to take my yarn. I'm using two different colors. And basically what I'm doing is you want to go ahead, skip that first stitch, wrap it around the second peg, like so. Then you take your little thingamabobber, everything's a thingamabobber, and you want to go up and then underneath the other stitch on the same peg, pull it underneath, like so. Then you have this loop. Then you want to go ahead and pull this off of the peg. But rather than sticking this loop on this empty peg, you want to go back and put it on the first peg. It's easier to do when you're not trying to show someone. Like so. And then you do your normal E-stitch, I think they call it, because it looks like an E apparently, and cast off. And then you're going to go ahead and move this loop over one. And you do the same thing. So you've casted off your first stitch. You want to take and go the second stitch, go under, and then over and under. Make your little loopy thingamabobber. Take it off the peg and turn it to that first peg, like so. Pull a little tighter there. So you have two on one. And go ahead and flip it off, and then that one's cast off. Move the loops to the second peg there. And you cast it off an additional stitch. Then again, you wrap it from behind, like so, under, and use that groove in the peg to get underneath it. Pull a little loopy and slide it off the peg and onto the previous peg. Pull a little tight so you got the two, and over and off. Move that set of strings to the next peg. I know some of you do this the other way, in direction. This is how I ended. Again, over and up and under. And make sure to grab both threads if you're using two. Otherwise you're just going to have a little mess up in your thing. So off the peg and back to the previous peg. Pull tight on that. Not too tight though, then it's making things hard on yourself. And cast that one off. Voila. Move that. And keep on doing this until you have all you're down to your last one. That's going to be basically the same, but you know, there's always a little variance in the last thing. What I like about this, it gives a cleaner ending than some of the other cast off options. I call it cast off or bind off. I don't really know. Does it really matter unless you're teaching someone? I guess I'm kind of teaching. Maybe I should know this. Yeah. I'll just call it a thingamabobber and get it done with. Now this was just an example piece and I already messed it up a little bit trying to talk through this, which is not my forte when doing something, apparently. But there are so few videos out there teaching people how to do this. So unless you type in the right thing, you're never going to find them. Okay, so we're basically on the last one here, but we do the same thing for this. take it off and put it on the peg with the last set of strings. Pull it on tight. So we're back down to just that, and we do still cast off. Right, E-stitch. And then from the one tutorial I saw that was really decent, you go ahead and wrap it again like you were doing the knit stitch, and then you go ahead, go over, or go under and then over, just like we were doing before. Of course the last one's going to give you trouble. So then we have that loop again, but we actually cast that off like we normally would, and then we're free of the loom. And what you're going to do is give yourself some, working room here. So you're going to go ahead and, cut the string. Give yourself some room so you can sew that in so it doesn't look disastrous. Just yank out the extra there. So then you're left with the panel. And I even messed up on this a little bit, and you really can't tell. That's how you would cast it off. It kind of gives you that nice clean edge. It's going to be tight. It's not going to come out. So if you want to, you could easily maybe, sew that in. But that is how you do the cast off with the knit stitch. Hopefully that was